How do you feel, because I've seen in the 16 years I've been at Huntington's Victoria how much genetic counselling has changed. In a snapshot, how much do you think it's changed over the years to where we're at the present day?
In the clinical space, I think genetic counselling has changed quite a lot over the years. I guess historically, genetic counselling was performed by, say, nurses who didn't have a formal degree in genetic counselling, but were playing that role, right? And then there was the introduction of the role of a genetic counsellor, and we've really built sort of the profile of the position since then. What's come with that is lots of advancements in technology and research, and I guess we're very hopeful that there'll be more advancements around treatment and management of genetic conditions like Huntington's, right? And I think that's really shaping a lot around how we talk about different genetic conditions and how we frame information and how we support people through, say, a diagnostic journey or the journey to obtaining a genetic test result. And I think beyond the clinical space, genetic counsellors are moving into lots of different areas. So policy, research, education, the laboratory. And I think all of that is so valuable to the patient journey, because if we have more genetic counsellors doing research, we can understand the patient journey better. And as a genetic counsellor, we can then take that learning from the research and apply it in our practice and say, look, based on what we know from a lot of people who've gone through this process, these are things to think about, or these are ways to help manage sort of the emotional impact for the patient, for example. So I think there's been a real expansion of the role, which I think is really going to benefit sort of those working in clinical practice.
Oh, I agree. Look, I've already seen it in my time here, where it's moved away from almost that medicalized model
Yeah.
with the white lab coat. I know I haven't seen anyone here in it, I promise. From a much more empathetic and
Mhm.
individualized process.
Yeah.
And so I think you're spot on. If you have genetic counselors in policy and other areas influencing the overall scope
Mm.
of the medical framework and what genetic counsellors do, it can only be beneficial to those members who come from families with genetic conditions, and enable them to engage. I totally agree. Keep doing your good work is what I would say. What would your message be for the Huntington's community who will be watching this and maybe considering, we're not sure whether we should or shouldn't access genetic counselling? What would your message be for them?
I guess my message would really be to not be scared of engaging in the process. And the reason that I say that is that, and I think obviously we've mentioned it already, but it's really important to know that we're not going to say you have to make a decision, right? And I think that's something that is really important to know, that they can come and they can have a space to really talk through what this means for them. And at the end of one appointment, they might say, I've gotten everything I need from this, and I don't need to go ahead with genetic testing. And that's completely fine, right? And we can say, that's great. These are all the supports that are available to you. And we can provide them with a letter to record all that information so they don't have to remember it. And they can say, great, I'm done with that process now, right? And so I think it's really important that if they're unsure or are uncertain about genetic testing, to engage with the genetic counselling process, because we can sit with them with that uncertainty and help tease out what that looks like for them.
There's nothing like making informed decisions, whatever that might be. So even engaging with the process to access that information you need to make whatever decisions you need to make that are best for you at that point in
Yeah.
time. I had a recent meeting with a young person, and I said the exact same thing. You need to make decisions that are right for you at any point in your life, and those will change over time. And I firmly believe
Exactly.
that.
I think that's so important, that things will change over time, right? And so it really is about, for some people, knowing sooner is so valuable to them, because they can make changes around if they're thinking about a career change or what that looks like for them, or whether they'll stay in their same career, or if they're at the stage where they're thinking about children and it's sort of a different discussion then around focusing on, all right, what does this mean around having children? Does knowing this information change that? So at different points in people's lives, there's going to be different questions that come up. And it's so important to know that genetic counselors can be there at different points throughout the process, right? So even if they've had genetic testing and they say, and they had it when they were younger and now they're thinking about starting a family, right? Genetic counselors are there to talk through that part of the process too. So they can always come back to us.
Thank you so much, Josh. You have been wonderful. I could talk to you forever, but I won't, because I'll let you go back to walking along the park behind you. You have been fantastic. Thank you so much. I look forward to catching up with you in the future, I hope. Thank you so much for your time today.
No worries. Thank you, Tammy. It's been a pleasure.